Having appropriate equipment to control the waste on our landfills is one of the most important aspects of landfill management. This illustration shows some of the common issues that arise at disposal sites when appropriate equipment is not available or isn't used appropriately to control and manage the waste within the disposal site. This includes clearing waste from the access roads to maintain access for the delivery vehicles, compacting the waste and ensuring that the waste is placed in a consolidated mass, which enables the covering of the waste after it's placed to prevent fires, prevent water ingress from rainwater, prevent pests getting in, prevents litter being blown off site, and controls the stability of the site. We can see in this illustration where the situation's been improved by defining the landfill site with the containment barrier and utilising site equipment to layer and compact the incoming waste, clearing the access road, ensuring that the waste is kept in a defined area and allowing cover material to be applied to mitigate a lot of the impacts that were associated with the uncontrolled site. But there's no use in just having expensive equipment on the site. Its use has to be planned, and the operator needs to know the plan where and when to place waste and how to place it in order to ensure the efficiency of the site and of the equipment and prevent excess fuel and wear and tear on the vehicle, as well as optimizing landfill space. A major component of this is planning the daily working face where the waste that is arriving on the site on this day is going to be tipped on the tipping area, and then the size and specific area where the machine is going to push the waste and compact the waste, called the working face. The working face will vary in size depending on the volume of waste arriving, the number of vehicles arriving at any one time and the size of those vehicles, the type of compaction equipment available. But in this example, we have a site that receives approximately 45 tons of waste per day, and it's going to layer this waste over a 10 by 10 meter working face, an equally sized tipping pad. The waste will be layered in two 30 centimeter thick layers over 100 meter squared area, which enables the waste to be very clearly defined and compacted on the machine just to control that waste in a very organized manner. Now we're going to have a look at a couple of examples where this hasn't been practiced and see the impact of this. The first one here is a site where there's an appropriate landfill compactor of appropriate size for the volume of waste coming, but the landfill hasn't been managed according to a plan. The waste is dumped, the compactor hasn't been spreading the waste as it comes in. It's allowed it to pile up beyond a manageable volume, and the compactor is struggling with low density waste. It's sinking into that uncompacted mass and can't spread it and compact it to achieve that density that's required to ensure site stability and evenness of waste spread. There's some other aspects in the site that require attention, but we can clearly see here that the compactor is capable of pushing large quantities of waste, but even with that equipment being available, we can see that the operator is struggling to maintain an appropriate level of control for the landfill. In this second example, we can see that the landfill is being operated to a slightly better standard. The waste is compacted to a degree, it's covered to some extent, although not completely. But we can see that the site, the working face, is ill-defined. The bulldozer is travelling over a very large area of the waste. It's not being efficiently used to compact and spread the waste. It's travelling over far larger area than it needs to, and we can see that it's burning through the fuel without achieving its operational objectives of layering and compacting the waste to ensure its stability and enable the covering of that waste at the end of the day. Now we move on to an appropriate and effective use of bulldozer and equipment. So this landfill is of an equal size to the previous one, and we can see that the waste is covered. The working face is a very defined small area of the landfill, whereas all the other waste in the area is covered with soil, stopping the water ingress, the blowing of the materials, and the other issues that we saw at the start of the video. And we'll see that how this bulldozer is being used to best effect. So it's layering the waste, it's feathering its blade as it moves up the working face, spreading the waste evenly in that 30 centimetre or so layer, and then it's tracking back and forth over the waste to ensure appropriate compaction, ensuring that the tracks go beyond the last placement of waste to ensure full compaction and prevent any one area from not receiving the proper compaction, which may lead to instability issues. And we can see that that process is repeated, and as waste is brought in by delivery vehicles, it's quickly and efficiently layered and compacted into that working face to build up the landfill site and enable at the end of the day that waste to be covered and prevent those issues. So just to summarize in this little illustration, the covered area, the working face, it's being tracked over 3 or 4 times to ensure proper compaction. The working face is small and controlled, and the tipping area where the vehicles that are delivering fresh waste is clear and enabling clean and fast, efficient access for those vehicles to unload and then return to their collection route. And we can see in the illustrations at the top of the diagram here that the waste is placed in a slope on 1 in 3, so that's 1 meter vertical to 3 meters horizontal, to 1 in 10, depending on the equipment and the specifics of the site. But on a slope helps immensely, and this slope can be below or above the tipping pad, so the waste can be pushed down or pushed up the slope. And this last example is just to illustrate that on larger sites, it's often required to have a secondary machine to layer the waste. So in this case, it's a wheeled loader, but it could be a smaller bulldozer, plus the compactor to compact the waste after it's been layered onto that working face. In this example, the working face is quite steep, more in the 1 in 3 area. In the previous one with the bulldozer, it was more in 1 in 5, and it can be gentler. This one's a little bit steeper than it probably should be, but it just illustrates that co-working of the 2 sets of machinery serving separate purposes to ensure that the tipping area is quickly and efficiently cleared to enable the delivery vehicles to quickly and efficiently and cleanly tip their waste and get back to their operating routes.